All right, what is up, guys? It's Keith and Jack with Your House Our Rules. We got a video here. Trying to get back into the swing of things, trying out some new stuff with the channel. Hopefully, we can stay a little bit consistent. There's been a lot of stuff going on in both of our lives, so it's just something that we need to buckle down and get back to. You take these breaks, these hiatuses, and you kind of get complacent and then just not where we're at. But we're gonna get back into this video. It's gonna be a little bit shorter than what you're used to, but yeah, we're gonna talk about some fusion that has happened in America. So this is from nature.com. But the story actually broke back in December of 2022. After more than a decade of effort and frustration, scientists at the U.S. National Ignition Facility announced that they had set a world record by producing a fusion reaction that released more energy than it consumed. So if we're talking about fossil fuels and stuff, this is kind of a first. A lot of that is fucking more of a deterrent towards, energy consumption. We're actually losing energy, and this is the first time that it hasn't happened, at least in the United States. I know China's been doing their thing over the past year or two with some fusion reactions and stuff like that. But yeah, this is some pretty cool stuff that we got going on here that's bringing in like a new era of these type of energy. So the way that it kind of works is it has 192 laser beams at a frozen pellet of hydrogen isotopes and deuterium and tritium that is housed in a diamond capsule suspended in a gold cylinder. And essentially what it does is these giant lasers, they shoot at these isotopes or whatever and causes the atoms to fuse together, which is the same type of thing that happens in our sun. It creates a lot of energy when it happens, and it's one thing that is helping this new era of energy that we got going on. There's some stuff that's gonna raise some question marks with this, as nuclear energy always does, but it's something we're going to talk about and see if we can get into some of the finer points of what this may cause in America and around the world. So I'll kind of kick it off to Jack here, see if he has any, first impressions of what's going on. Yeah, what's up, Jack? You're muted. You're muted.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're
All
good.
right.
You're good. Keep going. We're good.
Regarding nuclear energy, this is such a it's an important thing. It's a scary thing at the same time, and I understand. When we think about nuclear energy, a lot of people think bombs, the dangers, and that's important. We have this power to do a lot of damage not only to our species but to our planet. But nuclear energy, nuclear fusion in general, things that go on inside of our star and inside of you know the entire universe, all the stars in the universe,
Yeah.
like these clean renewable sources, like nature's figured it out.
Yeah.
So we need to figure out how to harness that. Um, it is terrifying because all the things that could go wrong. We've seen the applications. Anybody who Oppenheimer came out this year, it was a fascinating movie. Like we understand the devastation that could happen. Obviously we've dropped nukes on Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Um, However, as there's been some pretty terrible. I think Fukushima and Chernobyl are some of like the biggest like
10
meltdowns.
Mile Island, stuff like that.
Three
Yeah.
Mile Island. Yeah, like, there's been
Yeah.
some big meltdowns. But even with those, if you consider those and like the deaths and how terrifying it is, and it's like, yeah, that is really scary. Um, it is. There's 99.9% fewer deaths than brown coal compared to nuclear energy.
Mhm.
99.7% fewer than oil, and 99.6% fewer than gas.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So I
you know,
just kind
so
of
the,
I just kind of want to take it there for a little bit.
yeah,
Those are definitely things that are true. I think that a lot of those statistics maybe come from the people that are working around them on a daily basis. Because I know a lot of people have their issues, their qualms with climate change and global warming and what fossil fuels actually do. I think that a lot of people, when they hear that this like fusion reactions or whatever, this is something that goes on in the sun. Well, the sun is constantly shooting radiation at us. And we have the stratosphere, we have the atmosphere around us that helps protect us, and some of the stuff may or may not poke holes in it to let that through. But what happens when we start doing this thing inside of the atmosphere, inside of the stratosphere that keeps us so safe? Is that something that could potentially be harmful to humans? I mean, we had, as you said before, like Chernobyl and 10 Mile Island, stuff like that. Chernobyl was kind of this like thought of as like this apocalyptic event. The miniseries fucking on HBO was really great. That it really encapsulated just the how scared the entire world was and stuff like that. So I don't necessarily think this is something that we should just absolutely, or that it is something that should absolutely deter us from trying to moving forward with this, because it is such an advancement in science that could help us, not just in the energy thing, but fucking having a renewable source of energy is something that could advance every type of science. So I think it's one of those things where we kind of test it out and see what's going on, see the adverse effects. And unfortunately, just like everything else, we kind of are up to our legislation at that point to kind of, put the bylaws in to keep it safe. And if it is starting to really mess some stuff up, then we need to do something about it. Will that actually happen? I don't know. But yeah, so, well, you got anything that you kind of want to comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, the problem is we've seen what happens when we have regulatory bodies trying to manage these private situations. It does need to be funded. It needs to be monitored. It needs to be safe.
Which they did think. Let me see if I can find it real quick. The government is putting for okay. This month, the agency announced the FIC announced that the U.S. is giving $42 million over the next 4 years to establish the new research, because this does 99% of the energy goes into just doing a single ignition at this facility, so it's very much in its infancy. But go ahead, continue.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, all I'm saying is, the problem is having these legislative bodies do their job. It doesn't seem to be our strong point currently, unfortunately. So, but we definitely need to explore these arenas. It's great that this is becoming more sustainable, as you said. I think 4 out of 6, and that's awesome. That's amazing to see that we're pushing forward with it. We haven't given up on it, because I mean, there was a time, Chernobyl and all the things, like we're like it was like a cascading event where most countries on the world are shutting down nuclear power plants. They're not working on that anymore. And again, we have there's reason for it, the fear of what it can do, but also like moving forward, we know that fossil fuels are not the answer. The only reason we're still pushing that is because most of our economy is built up on the oil industry. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of money to be made, and a lot of money that's going to be changing hands from people who probably don't want to lose it.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
how it goes.
Yeah, it is how it goes, and I know this is something that the UN, or there's maybe not the UN, but there's some. I don't think copied this down in my notes, but there is some organization that's like a world organization that has helped sharing their information and potentially getting it better. I know that. Let me see if I can find it. The way that like China and I think France was doing it is a little bit different than the other ways. They're essentially this donut shaped thing that uses like mirrors or some things to create fusion. It's called like a Tuscum or some stuff. I can't find it in my notes, but there are different ways that it's being worked out, and we're studying different things. I think the key point that we need to take from that though is that these individual bodies are trying to work together and for a better thing, or a better service for the entire world. So I think that we might be on the right track in its infancy, and hopefully we'll see how it pans out over time.
Yeah.
Yep. So we got anything more comments that we want to talk about this? Is there anything that you were planning on talking about, or do we kind of just sum it up?
No, I think that's pretty good. I mean, we just need to um, stay as safe as possible while we continue researching these new technologies, because we need
Right.
it.
Yeah, and I think that the individual at home who might be listening to this or seeing some of the other broadcasts, I think that they just need to keep an open mind about what's going on here. We don't really advance unless we are willing to test stuff out. That's how the scientific method works. So when it comes down to it, keep an open mind. If you do see some issues that arise with it, definitely voice your opinion. Make sure that you vote the people into office to get the legislation to help keep this where it needs to be. But yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes, and I just like you said before, where we're going right now, it's not necessarily sustainable. Maybe it is in our lifetime, but me and you both, I think we're kind of in the same ballpark where we think that we should be doing things for future generations rather than just making sure that our own generations are okay. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. For posterity, baby.
Yeah, for sure.
Make sure these kids can have kids and their kids can have kids and they can do cool shit.
Yeah, and maybe I'm just waiting for AI to advance to a point where I become immortal and can actually see all this shit, can see how we're fucking it up in the future. So, yeah, but I think we kind of cleaned this one up. I think that we should be good to go. If you have any closing comments, let me know.
No, let's you want to roll onto drones?
Yeah, we'll cut the video before we do that. But it has been
Sure.
another episode of Your House Our Rules. Peace.